Notre Dame at Miami, one of the greatest rivalries in recent college football history. We're going to break it down tonight, right here on the Portal Podcast.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am going to be discussing Miami hosting Notre Dame tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a live show. If anybody wants to jump in the chat, this is kind of sudden. I haven't done a lot of this on the Portal Podcast, but we're going to be doing more of it coming soon. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Right now, you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So tonight, we're going to go over several things. At the end, I'm going to give my thoughts on a final score prediction. I'm going to talk about some key matchups, a couple that I think people will not normally discuss. I'm going to have some questions for everybody throughout the podcast. I'll answer some of them in my own way. Comment down below if you have anything to think about for me, or if you just want to make a decision, hey, Brian's wrong here, fire away. Happy to hear what you have to say. But to begin, we're going to talk about Notre Dame and Miami, how they have built their program through the trenches. And that's where I start tonight. And if you take nothing else away from this podcast, note that Notre Dame and Miami, it's all about their ability to beat people up with big bodies and athletes overall. But front seven for Miami, front seven for Notre Dame, the offensive lines, the tight ends, they are physical players in the trenches. Those guys are really big players. It's the reason that Miami and Notre Dame back in the 80s, all the way through the 90 game with Rocket, and then the off and on they've played a handful of time in the 2000s. They've always had trench play. That's the difference between these programs and a lot of others, especially right now. So a couple of notes. I follow offensive line recruiting probably closer than anybody that I know. And I look at numbers in terms of the sheer bodies, as well as, okay, where are some of the recruiting rankings, and take it for what it's worth. But over the last 5 recruiting classes, including the current freshman, Notre Dame has signed 23 offensive linemen in 5 years, while Miami has signed 18. Notre Dame signed 16 4-stars, according to 24/7. That's insane. And it's why they're pumping out offensive linemen in the NFL right and left. As for Miami, this is a program that they've hit on more 3-star guys, including, I don't know, Markel Bell was a junior college player, but had tremendous upside. He's probably a 4 or 5-star JUCO kid that he's kind of come around now. He's their left tackle, and he's one of the biggest players in college football. I have a ton of respect for Cristobal as an O-line mentor, and his best friend, Alex Mirabal, is the O-line coach. He's one of the best. They have done a great job there. And then on the defensive sides of the ball, both of them have gotten a lot of big bodies. Notre Dame's gotten a lot bigger in general. Anye will probably start. He's about 310. He's going to be a nose guard. And Notre Dame has a bunch of guys that are in that 280 to 310 range in their depth chart. And they also have Heinisch, who's a guy just under 280 that's really quick. He's kind of the change of pace, but he might start. And he's just a productive player that's a redshirt junior. So both these programs have built through the trenches, and that's how they've gotten to this point where they both are quote-unquote contenders for the college football playoff. As for what I think is overall with their rosters, where it's good and where it's bad, just a couple of basic comments based on recruiting. I've seen a lot of the kids, especially from Miami in high school, because I've lived in Florida for so long. Josiah Trader is going to be a very important player in this game. He got banged up, but he's back allegedly, and I have heard that he's going to play. That's all I know. Mario is unbelievably guarded about information getting out of camp, like a lot of coaches are in that school. Notre Dame's lost a couple of guys. One of their offensive linemen, Charles Jagusa, he was a 5-star by some of the recruiting services, but they're so loaded. Gerby Lambert, who was by some services, again, another guy that was a 5-star, he's probably going to start at offensive guard. They're going to be fine. Out of the 5 guys Notre Dame has up front on this year's offensive line, I expect all of them to play in the NFL. And there's a chance that happens for Miami too. So again, the trenches on the offensive side for both teams very, very good. The defensive player up front that I'm most curious about for Miami, and for your Canes fan, comment on this. Which guy steps up and is a dude at D tackle, not D end, at D tackle? Are they just going to rotate guys, or do they have anybody that's truly ready? I know Bain is a great player. We'll talk about him in a second. Love Ruben Bain. But do they have a D tackle that's going to be dominant? Not good, dominant. Same question for Notre Dame. I think they have the exact same situation. There just aren't very many good D tackles in college football. It's arguably the most difficult position to find players. And when you do, as soon as they are eligible, they're gone. They're going to the draft. There's maybe a third of the defensive tackles at the level needed for all the teams in college football. That's why they're so coveted. There's just not enough of them. To that point, I also think that both teams will be using their linebackers in a multitude of ways to rush the passer, even if it's just fake blitzes, zone drops, fire zone, all kinds of different things. It's game one. You've got plenty of time to game plan. And with all the recruiting talent, like Wesley Besaint for Miami as a linebacker, if you're a Miami fan, you know about him. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you need to know about him. Very talented young man, very smart kid. I got to know when he was coming out of Miami Central. Great kid. I think that he will be a key. If he's not creating havoc for the Canes, not just as a linebacker, but as somebody getting into the backfield and chasing, whether it's, we'll talk about the quarterback battle in a minute, Kenny Minchie or CJ Carr. If he's not, that's probably not going to end well for Miami. He's too much of a playmaker physically, and now he's an experienced guy. He should be one of the better players on the Canes. And further, I'm curious to see which guys come off the bench for them. They got the kid from Rutgers. It's going to be their middle linebacker and starter. Is Popo going to be the backup middle linebacker? Which other players are going to be that guy for Miami? They've recruited linebacker well, but it just hasn't hit as much. Popo is Raul Aguirre. We call him Popo. Cam Pruitt's a guy that I think is very talented. They got Kamal Bonner out of the transfer portal. I'm not sure how that rotation is going to work. Somebody, again, a Miami fan wants to comment on that. I'd love to hear it. In the secondary, this is the area where Miami fans and even my buddy Alex Dono does Locked On Canes is probably the most curious about. They need to find a stopper, a guy that is a dude. And Notre Dame's got a couple really good receivers that I think will play in the NFL. A couple of guys that have developed. One's a transfer and one is in-house, and his name's Jaden Greathouse. But the big deal with Miami last year wasn't talent. It's this guy would do his job, this guy would do his job, this guy would do his job. All highly recruited players or transfers, but they weren't congruent, and somebody would have a bust. They just had guys running free in their secondary. So I just need to see that scheme work. And now they've got the new defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman, comes over from Minnesota. I've got a question about him, again, for Miami fans. He only coached 1 year at Minnesota, and he coached a couple of years at Rutgers as the coordinator. That's the only 2 years that he's had at big-time football. Are you guys concerned about that or not? I mean, he did a really good job last year at Minnesota, but that does seem like a very short stint. And Mike Denbrock from Notre Dame has been around forever. This is his third term, I believe, at Notre Dame. He's been around, been at LSU, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. He was with Brian Kelly for a long time at different stops he had there. I'm curious to see how that goes. As for the rest of Miami's secondary and all that, everybody's curious about Xavier Lucas. I think he's super talented, but OJ Frederick, that's the guy that really started to take the lead last year, which is crazy. A freshman from Miami. And on the other side, not a 5-star kid, not a 4-star kid. He was a 3-star by some Leonard Moore. He might be the best corner in the country. He's from the greater Austin, Texas area. That's a kid Texas probably kicking themselves for not going after. He may be the best corner, and I think he will be a major impact. We'll talk more about him as the show goes on. But a Don Schuler, kid out of Jersey from Notre Dame, he came on last year. It was his first year starting. He's really good. And then they got Christian Gray at the other spot. I'm not sure which kid will start at the other safety, but they're pretty good spots. Jalen Stroman comes over from Virginia Tech. He might be the other starter. And I would be remiss in talking about Notre Dame and Miami. Both of them are loaded at running back, but for me, it starts and ends with Jeremiah Love. I love Miami's running back room. It's good. They don't have Jeremiah Love. They don't have a home run hitter like that. Jadarian Price is not as complete a back because he's not a very good pass protector, but he is incredibly athletic, and he can get out the backside and take it to the house too. So both those guys might also, from what I saw, Marcus Freeman made a comment somewhere I read, those guys might be the kickoff return guys. I don't know if Miami will really kick to them, if they will pooch it, or if they will just kick it out of the back. I have no idea, but that'd be interesting because that's a new look. I don't think either one of them are likely to be kicked to directly. I wouldn't think because they're both explosive, but that'll be interesting. Before we go into the comments, I'm going to take a quick break, then I'll just jump into the chat and then just kind of go through some more of this stuff. I want to make a basic comment. Both these teams have enough talent to make the playoff. The one, and it starts with game one when they're playing each other, the one that makes it to the playoff and or makes a run will be the one that's more congruent. Just want you to think about that, whether you're a Miami fan, Notre Dame fan, or just somebody stopping in. It is imperative that these teams, because I give them credit for playing this game this early, they're taking this on early in the season. That's great for fans. I love it when teams play these kind of games early in the year, but you better be ready, because if you're not, one of them could blow the other one out. It is technically possible. They both have enough firepower to do it. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that next here on the Portal Podcast. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether it's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts, and that's where Drip Drop comes in to play. Drip Drop is doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly and delivering 3 times the electrolytes that you need and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. So whether you're just trying to get around campus in the heat, or whether you're going to a workout, Drip Drop is a way for you to stay hydrated and feeling good. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head over to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you once again for stopping in for this live stream between Notre Dame and Miami, the matchup. I'm going to talk about more of the recruiting and some of the battles, and I also have some questions I want to go over. But first, a few of the comments in here. Let's see what happens with this. Let's see. Tommy Guns. Who has the advantage at each position group? I mean, that's a pretty broad one. I guess it depends on your perspective. I think quarterback is very convoluted. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with Notre Dame. But second part, we don't know how, although he's a veteran quarterback, how is Carson Beck going to handle getting hit? It's not just because Notre Dame's physical and they're fast and they're deep and all that. He just came off a major elbow surgery. As somebody that knows what it's like to have an elbow injury, I still got a big bone spur on my elbow from when I used to pitch when I was a kid. That stuff hurts, man. And having a 300-pounder like Jason Onye or Boubacar Traore or anybody else, I don't even care if it's a corner, Devontae Smith off the corner for Notre Dame. I want to see what it's like for him to take a hit and then go forward. He may be great. I have no idea, but nobody's going to know, including Carson Beck, until he gets smacked. That's something to monitor. Running back, Notre Dame has Jeremiah Love. In the story. That's Jeremiah Love. I know there was that one comment Kane or whatever thinks that Jeremiah Love's not elite. He's out of his mind. That kid is elite, and he's going to be a long-time NFL player. And everybody that doesn't think so will see it on August 31st. Receiver, this is kind of convoluted. Jaden Greathouse for Notre Dame's really good. He blew up towards the end of the playoff. But Malachi Fields is the key. He's 6'4", 220. Does Miami have a corner to handle him on the boundary? That's the biggest question. Miami's got more talent than people are giving him credit for, and I'm not sure why at wide receiver. We'll see. Tight end, I know Lofton is underrated for Miami, but I don't think they have near the depth they did, and Notre Dame doesn't either. I don't think either one of them is great at tight end this year in terms of depth, but Eli Raridan for Notre Dame's a dude, and he'll probably play in the NFL quite a bit. Both offensive lines are great. Take your pick which one you like better. D-lines are very similar. Notre Dame edge at linebacker, I think they're 4 deep that'll always play in the NFL in some capacity. Cornerback and safety like Notre Dame. If you think it's Miami, that's great. Notre Dame has proven guys that were in the playoff and shut out Penn State's receivers from even catching a pass. They are the better group there. Let's see what we got here. Contar, good stuff. Thanks for the live show. You are more than happy to be here with me. I'm very happy to be here with you. How much better can people reasonably expect Beck to be able to avoid the turnover bug? This is from Tommy Guns. This is a great question, and I don't know what's going to happen, but you got to remember he changed offenses. He changed personnel. He changed where you lived. And he got rid of Bobo as his coordinator. The Georgia fans would like to stuff Bobo in a locker, but he's a Georgia legend and he's friends with Kirby. So that's Kirby's fault for keeping him around, but whatever. I don't know. Miami doesn't have a problem at receiver talent-wise, but there are a lot of new guys. Malachi Tony's like an early enrollee freshman, a year early, but he's turned heads. Is he going to make plays? Is Beck going to trust him in clutch moments? Stuff like that. I have no idea. CJ Daniels, for me, though, the transfer in from LSU, 6'2", 205, 210. He's a big body guy. If Miami's going to beat Notre Dame, I think he's got to be a part of that package. Again, I'm high on Josiah Trader. Very high on Josiah Trader. But I don't know what his conditioning is and all that because he's been banged up some. And Notre Dame's probably going to try to take him away. If they do, can Miami do something against Notre Dame? I don't know. But Beck is a veteran. If they're getting open, he'll get him the ball. Why would we not think that? He's got NFL skills. Anybody that doesn't think Carson Beck doesn't have the skills to be a big-time NFL player, playing all those games at Georgia, going through the process, say what you want about Kirby in general, he knows what it looks like, and I will defer to that. So he's taking all of that SEC experience in an elite program and bringing it to Coral Gables. So again, my biggest concern isn't whether he can get the ball out and all that. It's whether he can take the hit and doesn't bother him mentally. He got his elbow smashed. We're not going to know. Let's see what else we got here. Tommy, are you surprised that Miami didn't have another scheduling conflict to avoid Notre Dame for the second year in a row? Only slightly joking. I don't even remember what it was last year. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't Notre Dame have too many ACC games? The way it was set up, I can't remember what it was. But Miami, I don't think they're afraid of playing Notre Dame. And they had Cam Ward coming in, but whatever. It's part of college football. There's always somebody that's in the athletic department trying to manipulate a schedule for every program to make it easier to get to playoff. That's pretty simple for me. Let's see. Arch is 452. Beck's turnovers last year were largely impacted by him being the sole driver of that UJ offense. His interception percentage is the same as Sam Hartman's season at Notre Dame and only 0.7 higher than Riley's. A couple of things on that. Again, I don't think Bobo is that great a coordinator. And again, on top of that, Georgia fans would like to stuff him in a locker. Ever since Monken left UGA and went up to Baltimore, their offense hasn't been the same. And on top of that, this is the most unbelievable part about Georgia. All the elite offensive linemen they've recruited, they were terrible up front. So they had to lean on their quarterback and a group of receivers that couldn't catch a cold buck naked in Siberia. They had 30-some drops last year. So Beck was seeing ghosts because he was getting hit. And when he threw the ball to the right guy, a lot of the times it was dropped. So I don't think you can really grade Beck on last season. It was a weird year. Beefeater, what would you do if you were Miami and Notre Dame ran plays where both Love and Price are in the backfield? If they've got them both in the backfield, it depends on the other personnel, but they're probably going to hedge safeties down. Marcus Freeman's made it very clear. Notre Dame football is going to be a line and scrimmage team. We're going to try to run the ball. I mean, Marcus is a defensive guy. Let's not kid ourselves. Him and Mario are very similar. They're not fond of the passing game first and foremost. They're not. So he's going to try to run it, but you have to be very careful if and when they do that because A, Love can go in motion, put himself in the slot or be in, I mean, I don't know what formations they're going to use. They're not exactly open in their practices either. They might try to get the ball out to Love in the flat, which is even more dangerous. They may use him as a decoy. Same thing with Price. I saw Price in high school. He had 299 yards rushing in the game, had a kick return for a touchdown, and had like 100 yards of receiving. He makes the first guy miss. So Jadarian Price is electric too. So I would be more worried about the pass game because I've seen it. And I saw Jeremiah play in high school too at the Under Armour All-American game. I don't think I'd want to mess with that too much. The first thing I would do, though, if they were both in the game, if they were in man coverage on that play, I would automatically check. That is a hell no. Linebackers are not going to run with Love and Price. Those are track guys. They've got to be very, very careful what they ask for. And if they are in man and they're showing man, Notre Dame's quarterback, whichever guy it ends up being, needs to get the ball to those guys in one-on-ones. Simple as that. But Miami, just in general, I think they'll play safeties low. They just got to be careful about not being in man. If they're in man, they're not going to cover those guys at all. Tommy Guns, thanks, Brian. Love the shows. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm going to be doing a lot more live shows. They're fun. I enjoy them. Brian, who is the one player for each team who isn't nationally known right now that you think will be an impact player in week 1 matchup? That's actually one of the questions that I was going to talk about. Well, since you brought it up, I mean, I can kind of go into it. For Miami, I already mentioned it briefly. Elijah is a really, really good player. Elijah Lofton, he played at Bishop Gorman out there in Vegas. He's an H-back fullback. He can block. He can be used in the backfield. He can catch the ball really, really well. He's an all-around player. He's very good. He'll be clutch third down player. That's somebody I think that Carson Beck will look for. For Notre Dame, Eli Raridan's probably somebody some more people should know about. But I also think there's a lot of other guys that it could be. If you don't know who Adon Schuler is, that could be one. The safety, I think he will be one of the stars in Notre Dame's defense. Jason Onye, the defensive tackle, should be, but this is his first chance. Is he really ready? I don't know for sure, but probably the easiest pick. I kind of feel sorry for him because, it's not his fault, but he played at Virginia. Malachi Fields comes over to Notre Dame, and I mentioned him a little bit ago. He's 6'4", 220. And he doesn't move like a guy that's that big. I don't think Miami will be able to cover him one-on-one. And if they can't, Notre Dame's probably going to dice him up pretty good on the short passing game because they got to hedge with the safety out there, or they're just going to play one-on-one and roll the dice. So Malachi Fields for me, Elijah Lofton for Miami on the other side. I'm going to have another quick break here, and when we come back, I'm just going to roll for another half hour or so, just talk questions. I got a whole bunch. If you want to talk Notre Dame, Miami, I've got a plethora. Tell your friends that we're talking Notre Dame and Miami. I've got enough questions. I think that everybody's going to have some intrigue. So we'll get to that here in just a second on this edition of the Portal Podcast. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends and family? Game day's here, and you suddenly decide, you know what? I want to go to the ball game. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets if you use Game Time, too, and it can also save you some money. Not only do you save money, you can save money and then use it on food. You can use it on drinks. You can use it on maybe another ticket for another friend or family member, whatever it is you want to do. Game Time makes that possible for you. Game Time makes buying tickets just in general easy because you can do it from your phone, and you can do it in a couple of real easy clicks. I'm not the most patient guy, but you can see your seat view, and you can find out exactly where it is that you're sitting, to the pitcher's mound, to center court, or to midfield, or to the stage at a play, or anything else. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen. Let's get back into the chat. And if you've got questions in any way, shape, or form about Miami against Notre Dame, fire away. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you think I'm wrong on something, I'm going to make some predictions and ask some questions. Whatever it is, fire away. And if you just want to comment down below on YouTube or anything else, that is also fair game. Let's see, where was I? Tommy Guns. Are you at all concerned that Coach Free will go with the safer option at quarterback as opposed to the best option, assuming that isn't the same quarterback? I don't have an opinion on this. I have seen both. Let's see. Yeah, at Elite 11, I had the chance to see Kenny Minchie. That was in the finals in 2022. And I was told by the people that ran it that he was the best guy in the chalk room, like on the board and all that. And I saw him throw. He could absolutely throw. So he was intriguing. And then, like, there's no question that Carr is the big play guy. Like, he throws as good a deep ball as you're ever going to see. Like, it's just beautiful. But he's not a check down guy. He's aggressive. So if that's what you mean, that's there. But he may need another year. I don't know because I'm not at practice. Quarterback is the one position you got to be at practices. And that's why coaches absolutely unequivocally keep the media out of practice, because they don't want them to have an opinion. They don't want to be second guessed all day. That's really what it comes down to. It's not just the other team seeing it. They don't want the media to see it. Don't ever kid yourself. So to that end, I can't answer you. Freeman has got two dynamic guys in terms of arm talent, but they're both inexperienced. I think they're both very likely, doesn't matter which one started, to have minimum one turnover in this game. Minimum. I would be shocked if there isn't at least one over the middle. As soon as they release it, that's a pick kind of play. I don't care how many times you tell young quarterbacks not to throw deep down the middle. They're going to throw deep down the middle. It's going to happen. Does Miami take advantage of it? It's probably the bigger question. Let's see here. Beefeater. Do Miami's front seven fly around on defense, or are they big uglies? They've got Wesley Bissaint. That is a kid that can fly. He's a kid that Notre Dame probably should have recruited. Elite student out of Miami Central. There aren't many of those kids that fit Notre Dame. They didn't recruit him. They should have. He's going to play in the NFL in some capacity. He is a heat-seeking missile. Great guy to be around. Very no nonsense. I think Wesley is a player that you need to know about. The other kid, Trey Ori, or let me see if I can. They've got a big guy that they just brought in from, I believe, Rutgers. Muhammad Tori. Anyway, he's a big guy, 235-ish. He was a pretty good player at Rutgers, but this is a big step up. I don't know much about him. No offense, I don't watch Rutgers football. They suck, so it is what it is. We'll find out soon enough. Tommy Guns, which team do you think has had the better recruiting classes over the last 4 years, including the portal on a per-player basis as opposed to outright numbers? I would say Notre Dame slightly. Miami's 21 class on. I mean, they've had some moments, but they've taken, and this is my new pet peeve with recruiting in general, it's not a slight on Miami, they've taken too many risks on kids. And what I mean isn't the evaluation of the player on film, it's the evaluation off the field with everybody around players. They've had too many guys that were mercenaries, especially from the portal, and I think that's held Miami back a little bit. And when things go sideways, you get what you had in some of the bowl games recently for them. Too many guys didn't care. They were just worried about what's next or getting a check. Notre Dame is more cultured. They may not sign quite as much talent at some spots. D-tackle in particular has been a problem for them for years and years and years, but they get guys that stick around, and that is just super invaluable. So I'll go Notre Dame slightly, but overall you look at them and like Miami secondary, this is an example last year, was a sieve, but it wasn't a talent problem. Like they've recruited really well. O.J. Frederick, I expect to play in the NFL, and they just got Xavier Lucas to transfer back home. He's a kid that played at American Heritage. He's an NFL player. They've got to get guys to buy in that really just want to be at Miami, and it's not because of the big check. Their big booster is the guy that runs the soccer team down there. For Miami to get back to being Miami, they've got to win because kids want to be there, not because of the NIL. That's the difference of the two programs, in my opinion. Let's see. Magnetic therapy bracelets. I love your unbiased review, Brian. Well, if there's one thing I am, it's blunt, and I do not care what people think. I'm going to let it rip. I've never been shy, and I'm not ever going to stop. Like, I don't see, especially in a chat like this, we should all be open. You've got to be honest, or what's the point of chat? You know what I mean? Brian, not just saying this because I'm a Canes fan. The second for the Canes is really, really good. I think it will be pretty good too. I just need to see how Heatherman calls it. This is only his fourth year, like in big-time football. Marcus Freeman, I know he's the head coach, but he's still pretty much the de facto DC. I'll take him every time. Heatherman's also going from Rutgers to Minnesota to Miami. That is a big jump. Need to see how he handles the pressure. And we still don't even know who Notre Dame's quarterback's going to be, but from what I am told about Heatherman is he's going to run a lot of umbrella defense. But I'm not sure about that because, no offense to Minnesota, they don't get the dudes that Miami does. So that might be talking about your point. You could run a little more man. Like, I don't think they're going to cover Malachi Fields. I'll be shocked. He's an NFL player. He's 6'4", 220. He's got over 100 catches the last 2 years. He's a jump ball nightmare. He's a freaky guy. And then Greathouse is always open. Faison's a good player. They've got guys. But the key is still, you can't, if Notre Dame beats Miami because of jump balls and just contested catches, you tip your cap. If you're a Miami fan and they lose because of stupidity in their secondary again, that's a whole nother deal. That's when you would have to be concerned because I lost track of how many times I talked to Dono or a Miami fan last year. And it's like our secondary, there's always somebody just wide open. And I'm like, I don't understand this. Same coordinator from last year to 24. and it just fell apart. It was just bizarre. Tommy Gunn, score prediction. How do you see the game playing out? I'm going to give that a little later, but I definitely do have a score prediction and a lot of thoughts on it. Archer, Canes Fair Life. On paper, they definitely have upgraded, but when your entire secondary is made up of transfers, there is an element of got to see it first to believe it. That's not technically true, Archer 452. OJ Frederic was a recruit. He's get out STA. He's a key player, but the transfer thing is the biggest concern I have. Miami's culture is getting better, but it's not where it needs to be because they've relied too much on the portal. And again, it was just so bizarre. They had a lot of talent last year. It was just awful in the second. I don't understand that. Magnetic therapy. Miami's defense versus Notre Dame's defense. Notre Dame's new coordinator, top 5 defense last year. Miami new coordinator, horrible defense. That is technically true, but I'm telling you, Miami's got a ton of guys. Reuben Bain's going to play in the NFL for a long time. And if you want to look at all the guys on Miami's 2 deep, like they got some really good young players. How many of those guys on the defense are going to at least help? It's going to be hot. It's going to be muggy. Is it going to be a big deal? Yeah. I think their depth from their freshman and sophomore classes, give Miami credit. They have recruited really, really well. Let's see. Got a new defensive coordinator because their DC went to the NFL. One got a new DC because its defense was not very good. That is true. That is true. Dynasty Lab. Does Miami score with their passing or run game? Is the offense capable of putting up 30 against Notre Dame? I think the only way Miami would score 30 against Notre Dame is the way most teams do in an opening game. The defense and or special teams create turnovers or big plays, or in conjunction with that, the team they're playing hands them the football. Let me be clear. I've said it once or twice, maybe already on the show. I'm going to say it again. At minimum, and I don't care if it's Minchie or Carr, there will be at least one play in the game where it's just like, are you kidding me? What was that? But then you're like, oh yeah, this is a first-time starter at quarterback. There's going to be an ignorant, boneheaded play. Miami will probably capitalize. Now, Notre Dame's defense is better than Miami's still otherwise proven, but they still are going up against a veteran quarterback. I don't think Beck will cost them the game, but at the same time, I don't know how the congruency of that offense will be at the receiver tight end position. I'm not sure. So they got some question marks, but Miami's defense has an easier task because it's an inexperienced quarterback. That's an advantage for the Miami Hurricanes. No doubt about it on my end. Let's see. Ed D. Miami Twitter released a pic of freshman wide receiver making the catch over 3 DBs. So Beck is throwing into triple coverage and 3 DBs can't cover one guy. Bad. That's hilarious. I don't remember seeing that. I might have to check that out. That's actually pretty interesting. I'm guessing that was Malachi Tony, or it might have been one of the other guys. I don't know. They've got really good freshman receivers. I don't care which player it was, though. Sometimes those kind of plays happen where a quarterback does throw it up and it's stupid. But if a guy just makes a great play, so be it. It's part of the game, man. Football is about making a play, even when your teammate screws up. And if he threw into triple coverage, obviously that's not good. Archer, I think Miami's D is the best Notre Dame will see in the regular season. Brian, where would you rank them against the rest of Notre Dame's schedule? I like A&M's better for 2 reasons. Number one, I think they're still bigger and better at D-tackle, and they got Mike Elko. Just like I said with Freeman a little bit ago, he's the head coach, but he's the de facto defense coordinator. I don't give a crap what anybody says. This is across the board. Defensive coordinators turned head coaches are always defensive coordinators. And they are more, how do I put this? They're more meddling in my experience, and they're more, it's not an ego thing, but it's probably more about the ability to get in there, and they just have to be involved with it. Like Spurrier, to a certain extent, was that guy on offense. Like he was always going to be the play caller and everything. He was even worse. But Freeman, and to a certain extent, ironically, although he was an offensive lineman in Miami, I really think that Mario Cristobal treats it that way. So, like, those guys know what they're doing. That's good, but Heatherman's, he's an inexperienced DC by comparison. So, Chris Ash has been around. Urban Meyer swears by him, and he's been in the NFL. He's been a head coach, and you got Freeman. That's an advantage for Notre Dame, but Miami's is pretty good. Elko, though, like, I'm not betting against him. This is his second year. His system's installed, and they had all those problems last year, kind of like Miami in the secondary. I'll bet you money A&M's not giving up busts like they did last year. This year, after going through another spring and all that, Elko will have that trained. I need to see it with Miami. I don't know. I need to see it. Now I want to ask some questions for everybody in the chat and for anybody out there. These are just a bunch of questions I have about the game, and I just think are fun. And if you've got something that you want to rip off and talk about from this, go right ahead. If you agree, disagree, it doesn't matter to me. What do you think? Whether it's Kenny Minchie or whether it's CJ Carr for the Irish, how well will they perform in key moments? And here's what I mean. Red zone and third downs. Games are usually won and lost in those areas. Obviously, turnovers, that's the low-hanging fruit. I mean, everybody knows those are important. Well, Kenny Minchie and or CJ Carr, I don't think they're going to play both quarterbacks. Doesn't sound like it. Will they be good in red zone? And would they be good in third down situations? That is a huge question for me. I don't know. The only thing that I can think right now, like as I talked about earlier in the show, both these teams have recruited the trenches so well. There could be a lot of 3rd and 3s where your quarterback, even if he's not the most mobile guy, Carson Beck's not, he can go get you 8 yards. If it was CJ Carr, he can go get you 8 yards. Now, Minchie's the most gifted of the 3. He can go get you 20. But I think you're looking at a scenario where if they're not running the ball well, Miami would have the better advantage because at least their quarterback's experience. And last year, Georgia's offensive line stunk. They averaged like 124 plus a game. They were bad. And they were still a team that made it to playoff. So you got to give them credit. However, Notre Dame's offensive line, I think like literally all 5 of their starters will play in the NFL. And they've got Love, they've got Price. They're loaded. Notre Dame needs to be in 3rd and 3 a lot more than Miami does. That's just something to think about. Again, comment, let me know what you think of this. Number 2, which defensive tackle group plays best? I think Miami and Notre Dame both have talent at the spots. Notre Dame's a little more experienced. Like Messidor might play inside some. I think he's underrated to a certain degree for Miami. He's a guy to watch, very talented upperclassman for the Canes. I think he's a grad student now. But they're young at D tackle in a lot of ways. Justin Scott and some of these guys, how many are going to play and make noise? Is Notre Dame going to be able to open some holes on the inside? Because if they do, that's going to be a big problem because Notre Dame's outside zone game is nasty and so is their screen game. That could be a problem for Miami. If they aren't good there, that's going to be a real difficult situation. On the flip side, for Miami, you're talking about an elite quarterback in terms of experience. He's got the arm. He's got the experience. He's got the size. He's going to pick you apart if you can run the ball consistently. Carson Beck will kill you on 3rd and 2, 2nd and 4, play action. If Notre Dame struggles on first down runs, and that's a major concern. Inez Cooper, watch him. He's the right guard for Miami. I expect him to take another step up. I'll talk about some of the numbers here in a second with the O-line just for fun. Got all the snap counts for the expected starters for both Miami and Notre Dame. I think he's a guy that is going to be very key. They got Brockemeyer transfer in from TCU. He's another pretty good player. But overall, the key here, if you get into 2nd and 3rd and short, both these teams have quarterbacks with enough talent and the receivers, and don't forget about the tight ends to really cause some problems. Number 3, who is going to be the biggest playmaker for each team? For me, I think it's pretty simple. It's the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Jeremiah Love and Mark Fletcher, each team starting running back. I think both are NFL players. Feed them the football. Yeah, you're going to have some negative ones to some 2 yards, but both of them can rip off a 22-yard run and think nothing of it. Jeremiah Love knows what it's like to take a 98-yarder to the house in the college football playoff. You must feed the ball to these guys. And both teams, again, they're deep running back rooms. Miami's running back room was disrespected. Like, forget which, the Doak Walker Award or one of them, I can't remember. Somebody put out a list, top 100 running backs in the country. None of Miami's running backs were on it. I started laughing. I'm like, Fletcher's going to turn pro after this year. Guys completely missed, but whatever. So again, if you've got any comments, fire away. But the biggest thing right now, trenches. I'm going to go back to the point I started with the show, and I'm going to read off some stats. just on from Pro Football Focus, and I'll start with Miami, how many snaps they had, some of the keys with them from what I've seen on film, etc. Markel Bell, left tackle, he's like 350 pounds, maybe bigger. He's massive. He got into the lineup last year, started some games, but he played 544 snaps. Watch him. Boubacar Traore, Bryce Young. Notre Dame has NFL defensive ends. How does that translate with him? That's somebody they're going to get after. On the other side, top 10 pick maybe? Francis Malinois, a guy I've gotten to know over the last several years. Great guy from Miami. One of the strongest players in college football, pound for pound. He's 335 pounds and built like brick. He's elite. But sometimes he gets out over his toes, and kind of like Bell, you can beat him with a speed rush, and he gets a little handsy sometimes. 914 snaps last year. Struggled a little bit in pass protection against Duke, Louisville, Florida State, teams that have pure DNs, and Notre Dame, again, they got NFL DNs. We're going to see that. And you also see probably Kingston Viliama-Asa come off the edge. You'll probably see some other guys. I mean, Notre Dame's super deep at linebacker. And to be honest with you, although they're listed at linebackers, some of their guys are just as much pass rush. Logan Thomas will come off the bench. You'll definitely see, Jalen Sneed blitzing off the edge. That's just a lot of speed. How do they utilize that? On the inside, Miami has Matthew McCoy finally breaking in as being the guy, it sounds like, at left guard. James Brockemeyer played 812 snaps. McCoy played 660 last year. Ines Cooper, 876. Very good group. Miami should be able to run it. I'm more curious, can they block Notre Dame in obvious passing downs? That might be the key to the game, actually. Notre Dame, offensive line from left to right. Anthony Knapp, he was a freshman last year, started that A&M game. 843 snaps. He stunk in pass pro, especially the first 6 games or so last year. He's allegedly gotten a lot better, but I'm thinking they're going to chip with him a little bit. We'll see. He could be the reason Miami wins if he's still struggling. Like, you're going to attack him until otherwise proven. Billy Schrauth might be their best offensive lineman left guard. That's an NFL player for a long time. He'll be done after this year. Does he dominate against Miami's interior? I don't know, but he's certainly capable. Ashton Craig back from injury, only played 3 games last year, 159 snaps, another NFL player. Pass pro will be the biggest question for him, but this is the guy that knows the system, understands what he wants to do, very, very talented. He's got an NFL future. Gerby Lambert, the least experienced, if he does start, it's not a guarantee he will, but if he does start, former 4 or 5 star, depending on the recruiting service, only played 53 snaps last year as a freshman, but he's 6'7", 330 pounds, and he's in the realm of what Malinois, for Miami fans, coming out like he was that elite. Every school in the country offered him. And then the right tackle is Emil Wagner. He started every game for Notre Dame last year, 973 snaps. He's Mr. Consistency, was their best overall lineman last year. And to be honest, I think he's a guy that is not only good, he's a guy that can make it happen for them in the run game. It might be the player that Notre Dame runs behind on 3rd and 1. You could see Emil Wagner, the right tackle, being very, very important for the Fighting Irish. A few more questions here just for fun. Let's see. I already talked about this a little bit. Somebody asked. Surprise players. I say C.J. Daniels is a possibility, but watch out for Elijah Lofton. I think he's going to be very key for Miami, the tight end / H-back, and then Malachi Fields for Notre Dame. I don't think Miami will have an answer for him. Number 5 here, Notre Dame's pressure on quarterback Carson Beck. How good will it be? And the extension of this, can Notre Dame pressure Miami with 4? If they can pressure Beck with 4, Notre Dame's going to kill them because their secondary is elite. And you're just going to add more guys into the coverage package if they don't have to use a ton of blitzes. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll win some battles, but especially on the inside, I expect them to use linebackers as kind of an extension of a run blitz, and Miami will mix it up with play action, try to take some shots so they don't have to go to the field 5, 6, 7 yards at a time against Notre Dame. That's really hard. Let's see how that goes. Number 6, does Miami really use umbrella coverage, meaning cover 3, cover 4, playing soft cover 2, and try to force Notre Dame to beat them with a young quarterback going to the field? Wouldn't surprise me if they did it some, but I think that Miami will also heat up whichever young quarterback it is and for him by ass. I have no idea what's going to happen with Notre Dame. I'm just going to wait to see who trots out onto the field. And then finally here for a unique question, will Miami utilize Elijah Lofton enough? Again, I want to just reiterate. He's a sophomore, played at Bishop Gorman, was an elite recruit. Fullbacks tight ends, offensive linemen, I don't care what it is, Bishop Gorman has always got everything. This was a guy that stood out on film on their team film. Like, he was just omnipresent. Goes to Miami, starts playing some last year, and he's been a guy that's even got carries as a running back. He's played in the slot, H-back, lineman, tight end. Not the biggest guys, like 6'2", 230, something like that. But, man, is he a good football player. If Notre Dame loses to Miami, I will almost guarantee you that Lofton has had a big game for the Canes. He is tremendous. He will play in the NFL. If Notre Dame fails, it'll be because of him. And I don't think linebackers in general, Notre Dame or otherwise, Notre Dame's linebacker group is loaded. I don't think they'll be able to cover him much. I'm curious to see how Notre Dame approaches that, because Chris Ash's scheme of defense, there's more zone. That'll be interesting. How much are they really going to run? We don't know. They might mix it up. And if Notre Dame does it well, that'll be a big part of what happens in this game. Next up, will Leonard Moore be able to take away a Miami receiver? I think Leonard Moore is arguably the best corner in college football. Conservatively, he's top 3 nationally, and he is a dude. Carson Beck is good, but when he lines up behind center, I'm sure he ain't going to make it obvious. He's going to want to know where Leonard Moore is. If he doesn't, then there's a good chance that he's lost his mind. Stay away from the other team's elite corner. Now, Christian Gray's good. He'll play in the NFL, but I think Moore is a 10-year NFL guy. That kind of player I'm going to stay away from. And I don't know if they're going to rotate boundary field left, right I don't know what they're going to do. But whoever he's covering, at the end of the day, if you look at the stat sheet, as far as like traditional, not screens, traditional passes, I will be shocked if Miami challenges Leonard Moore that much. He's very consistent. And he was actually better than Benjamin Morrison after he got hurt. Truly wild last year. Let's see. Special teams. These are the two things that I think favor Notre Dame. Who's got the better special teams? It's Notre Dame. Their special teams unit last year was insane. If Notre Dame pulls off a fake punt, if Notre Dame blocks a punt, if Notre Dame has a better return, something like that, could it change the outcome of the game? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think that you're talking about a group of players for Notre Dame. They bought into that. Kenny Biaggi is Biaggi, I can't remember his name. The special teams coach for Notre Dame. He's done a great job of getting guys to want to be on the unit. It's like, cool. Bryce Young was on that unit last year, blocked kick. Like, they have a lot of pride in it. And that goes into the last point that I have. They go together. Notre Dame's got the better culture right now, and that's why they made it to the final game last year. They weren't quite as talented as Georgia. They weren't quite as talented as, in my opinion, as Penn State. In some spots, it's close. But they beat those teams because of their culture. For Miami to get to that level, they've got to prove it. And this is a proving game for Miami. Will Miami's culture show in a positive way in this game with all the transfers they had? They had 19 transfers again this year. Notre Dame had 8. To me, that's not a good sign. Miami missed too much. That's partially evaluation. They relied too much on NIL last year. It bit them in the butt. They still had a really good year, but they missed in recruiting partially before Mario got to town. And they didn't have the seniors they needed from the high school ranks. They went out and got some kids. Didn't work. Notre Dame has had to do much less of that, and I think that's the advantage. Before I give my final score prediction, one other thing. Whatever happens in this game, just enjoy that first weekend. Think about the weekend in general. Ohio State's hosting Texas. We've got Clemson hosting LSU, the Battle of the Death Valleys. This one will be in South Carolina. Obviously, Notre Dame and Miami. Got a weird Friday night game. We got Auburn traveling to Baylor. That's kind of wild. And it's just symbolic of college football in general. Enjoy that entire weekend. We're less than 2 weeks away. And we got Farmageddon that's coming up. Kansas State is playing Iowa State over, I think it's Ireland where they're playing. I mean, that's wild. Those schools have played each other forever, but that's awesome. We are blessed to have all these college football opportunities, and I think that it's a lot of fun. But at the same time, some people forget that, hey, I'm just following my team. The reason I got into college football before I picked a team when I was a kid, it was all the pageantry around it, all the unique cultural things, teams from all over the country playing, and now a couple of them, again, going to Ireland to play. It's awesome. Take advantage of watching college football. It's an incredible event, And if you don't, that's on you. There's no reason not to watch. Now, far as my prediction, I've got Notre Dame 31-20. I think it'll be a close game, and I think it'll be down to the last few minutes. I think Notre Dame's offensive line will be the better of the two slightly, but I also think that's partially due to the fact, again, something I just mentioned, culture. Notre Dame's culture is really good, and I think their defense will play together a little bit more because I think Miami's offensive line is just as good as Notre Dame's, really, but they're not going against Notre Dame's defense. They're going against just the overall culture of Notre Dame in conjunction. So they're going to have worse field position because I think Notre Dame will win special teams. And even though I think either Minchie or Carl will have at least one boneheaded play, I don't think Carson Beck will be in the advantage situation in terms of field position and all the little things. Notre Dame will win on penalties, the kicking game, and the run game will be similar, but Jeremiah Love will also make a couple of plays that Jeremiah Love makes. Until otherwise proven, he is the best running back in college football in terms of his all-around ability, blocking, catching, and of course running, and he will make a couple of special plays. And I think Carson Beck will kind of get left high and dry because of some of the other things around him, and he'll still take some of the blame if I'm right and they lose. Be careful how you look at it if I'm right on this. Carson Beck is a very good football player, but I don't expect him to be in a very advantageous situation in terms of field position. So again, I got the Irish winning 31-20. I expect them to get a late touchdown. I think it'll be close throughout to kind of seal the game, kind of like they did against A&M last year, ironically. But this will be a very good football game. It'll be physical. It'll be loud and all those things. So thank you once again for stopping in for this. I'm going to do some more of these. I'm working on the LSU Clemson game as well as the Texas Ohio State game. Those are a lot of fun, but there just are so many great games. Need to get all up in it on like Iowa State and Kansas State. I need to do that one probably on Thursday. I think I might do that and just have fun with this. So everybody have a good night. I appreciate you stopping in. Take care and come back and see us on the Portal Podcast.